Well, hello, my friend. It's always so amazing to see you. How are you doing today?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm great, and you're always great. And I'm always grateful to have these conversations.
I'm not always great, and I don't want to give that illusion that I am always great. I am great today, but part of why I'm great today is I've had a horrible 2 days,
Mm.
and I've been drained and I've been hit hard and I've had emotions all over the place. My great today is because I was present the last 2 days for the journey I was on.
I love that you shared that. And yes, whoever thinks they're going to be great all the time is adorable. I was doing a presentation the other day, and this lady said to me, I just want to know how to be positive 100% of the time. You're always so positive, and how can I be that way all the time? And I said, well, isn't that adorable? Said, I will tell you right now, I am, yes, in this moment, I am great. I am having a great moment. I could have fallen apart an hour ago. Like, no, 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 no. That bar of wanting to, I had a friend who always used to say, I've never had a bad day. I said, really? Is that, oh, so you're not human. Okay, sorry, I was mistaken. Anyway, yes, you're absolutely right. And, I love that that you can have those days. And it sounds like we'll have to have another conversation because I have every emotion swirling around: grief, joy, sorrow, anguish, all of it. And that doesn't mean we can't have a great moment right now and then maybe have a tear later. Yeah, I told my husband, I said, I need to have a really good cry today, but like I'm talking to Maria and I've done my makeup. I'm just gonna like I'm not putting it off. I just don't want to have to redo my makeup. However, right?
Well, in the industry, when we're workshop facilitators, we know the concept of containment.
Mm,
Containment means I'm going to be completely present to you, and I'm going to be completely present to what's happening. I'm not going to stuff my emotions. However, I recognize that anything that bubbles up, anything that's coming up, I'm going to make conscious choice to when I can be 100% present to that. I
yes,
will be present to that. And my commitment right now is to contain that stuff so that I can be 100% present and with you. So there is
absolutely.
that containment piece. However, if we don't honor it and go back and deal with,
That's
like you said,
the
I
key.
had I need to cry some tears today. Hello. And let me tell you, last 2 days,
Mm,
I've been crying rivers,
aw,
right? Like there's stuff that came down these last 2 days for me. But you don't get to be here. You don't get to truly inhabit this if you don't inhabit that. If you do
absolutely.
inhabit that, then when you come to this, it is glorious because you did the hard work. Like you got it. You're there. And so
Absolutely.
people want to be happy all the time. The don't worry, be happy mentality. And I think
Mm.
we've been told a false bill of sales, quite frankly.
Ooh, yeah.
Um, that
Mm.
that happiness is kind of my experience of it is I'm on guard for the next thing that's coming my way to knock me out. Right.
Absolutely. I love that containment because there is a very, very distinct difference between containment for the moment so you can be present and do what's important in this moment, and avoidance where you're never actually going to get back to it. Right?
Yes.
Because if it shows up later, I'm going to drink a bottle of wine, I'm going to stay extra busy. I don't want to. Yeah, I'll deal with that later. It's like, no, no, you got to create the space to know that it's there. And like you said, grief, it needs to be heard, it needs to be felt, it needs to be expressed, converted to mourning, etc. And there is a very big difference. And oh, I just, when I think of you sharing that and me sharing that, it's interesting. We're on this journey of grief and joy and all the messiness in between. And what makes my heart ache is all of those who don't understand that all of that is okay and normal and natural and a process, and it will not always feel this swirly.
I think you're going to love this because I've come to think of it and talk about it in a completely different way.
Oh
I
yeah,
told you that
tell
I'm
me.
about to do a Facebook Live, right? And so I
Yes.
was with the Facebook Live, I was sitting and thinking about So how do I, in 15 minutes or less, really impress upon everyone that everybody has a relationship with grief? And what I came to realize, and so now this is like I'm shouting this from the rooftops, we all approach grief from one of three different ways at any given time. And we inhabit all of the three at some point in our life. Number one, you are grieving, actively grieving because you've had a loss. It may not have been recent, but you've had a loss and you are actively grieving. Number two, you are bearing and carrying your grief, which maybe you're denying it, but the reality is we live in a society where we encourage buried and carried grief.
Oh, absolutely.
All of us have buried and carried grief. And for those who may say, no, I've dealt with my grief, I don't have buried and carried grief, I'm going to suggest to you, if you live in the Western world, there's something inside there. Yesterday, for me, that was all about buried and carried grief. The day before yesterday, it was knocking at the door, right? That buried and carried grief is a reality, and we don't always know when it's going to come up. So number three is, I know grief is a part of the world and a part of my life, and I'm aware of what to do, and I'm willing to do it when it shows up. I'm willing to listen to grief as it presents itself. And other than that, when grief is not presenting itself, then I get to be really in the flow of the day, recognizing that for right now, I'm good. And right now can last a day, a week, a month, a year, right? And then something happens. And if I'm not fighting against it, then I belong legitimately to group number three. If I fight it, if I push it away, if I bury it and carry it, then I belong to group number two in this moment.
Right, absolutely. In this
right.
moment.
And if a loss has happened and I am in it real time right now, then I am grieving. And every human being on the planet inhabits one of these three.
Interesting.
And we all fluctuate back and forth between these three. And can we just be okay with that? Can we just be okay with that?
Absolutely. I love that. And yeah, there's no box that we inhabit and forever. And it's funny because as you were saying that, I think of, I always tell our older son, Tyler, who I love with all my heart and soul, we have grieved, we have struggled, all of this. And I often say to him, those who challenge us the most are our greatest teachers. And then I say, do you know who my greatest teacher is, Tyler? And he says, who, Mom? I said, it's you. I love you very much. But as you were saying that, I think, wow, grief is one of our greatest teachers. The people and the things that challenge us the most, grief challenges us. I mean, it challenges us to just show up. It challenges us to say, I'm here, and there's no getting around these hard feelings, and they're not pleasant. and people don't want us to feel them.
But they're not always not pleasant.
No.
We think grief as an emotion, and I really want to dissuade people from that. I want people to understand that grief is a constellation of inner responses to loss. Some of which are emotions, some of which are physical symptoms, some of which are mental symptoms, right? We have all this whole cacophony of things going on, and it's not all negative, and it's not all sad and heavy. Some of it can be light. We can have a grief moment where we've got a memory and it just makes me laugh out loud. Like I can laugh like a loon in the middle of a grief moment, right? So it is so much more complicated than just the heavy, right?
You're absolutely right. Yes, definitely.
And grief has its own wisdom. If it's presenting itself, it's because this is the moment where we can greet it and meet it and learn from it. And that's why we want to learn how to convert it to mourning, so that we learn how to engage with it. Grief has its own wisdom, 100%.
100%. And you know what? It's funny because when we started our conversation, I said, I have something to share today, and I'm not even going to tell you what it is. And you just led me right to it. Just led me right to it, because I'm always awestruck in how much I immerse myself in learning, unlearning, and evolving. And, there's never a time where you're not learning. And when I attended, thank goodness the timing worked, you did a webinar the other day. And it was a beautiful hour. It was so wonderful. You shared all of your wisdom. And I have 7 pages. How many times have we talked? How do I have 7 pages of notes? We've talked 100 times. And here I am saying that my thing is heart, humor, and humanness. I want to be funny and laughter, and I dress like Patch Adams and so funny. And I had missed a very key piece that you shared. It's like, drum roll, please. And you just were alluded to it when you convert your grief to mourning, and when that external expression of what we are feeling, all of those signs, symptoms, feelings, emotions, all of that is grief. And it's not all bad. And you said sometimes that external expression, that mourning, can be laughter.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
I've
And
never
laughter,
thought of it like that.
and laughter is as powerful as tears. Tears is one
Oh,
way to mourn. Laughing out loud is another way to mourn.
I never thought of it that way. And it was just, I was gobsmacked in thinking, oh my gosh, you're right. Like, we're expressing our emotions, whatever feelings, whatever we're feeling inside. So when people are at that visitation or that funeral and they're laughing and people are saying, oh, they shouldn't be laughing, it's very serious, I think it's already serious enough. Let them laugh. I just didn't understand, or I didn't frame it as they're mourning, they're expressing. And that was my beautiful aha moment. So thank you for that.
Yeah. My favorite reminder of it, my favorite show all time, Mary Tyler Moore. Loved it. Loved
Oh
it.
God,
Loved it.
that was hilarious.
And to this day, the most popular episode is when Chuckles the clown dies, right? And everybody in the newsroom is cracking these horrible, horrible jokes. And Mary is horrified by the joke. And Lou Grant tries to explain to her, no, we laugh because we don't know what else to do. We don't know how else to approach it. This is a way for us to release. And he described it so brilliantly. And then, of course, the comedy of the show is brilliant, because then they're at the funeral and everybody is just serious, and she bursts out laughing.
Oh, Mary.
If you haven't seen this episode,
I'm gonna have to find it. Yes.
Yeah. So here's the thing. I learned this for myself when we were planning my father's memorial service, and everybody was around sharing their ideas and yada, 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 and getting busy with it. And all I could hear in my head, to this day, it makes me laugh. All I could hear in my head was my father going,
oh yes, the noise.
hear the clicking?
Yeah.
That's what my father did when he disapproved of something. And all I could hear was this
clicking.
And I burst out laughing, which of course, in the room I was in,
oh yeah,
not necessarily welcome, not necessarily appreciated. And so I said to everybody, I got to tell you, I'm laughing because as we're doing this, all I'm hearing is, and everybody in the room knew exactly what I didn't have to explain, Dad's here, right? And they all started laughing. And together we kind of laughed. And I said, all I hear him saying is, why the fuss? And then we all slowed down from the doingness of what we were doing. And we articulated why the fuss.
I love it.
It was such a beautiful moment. So when we allow that laughter and when we sit with that laughter, we can find and share what's happening. And that's mourning. That's mourning in action. Because
I absolutely love that.
What's going on internally, right?
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. I mean, and that's what all of, with the Healthy Mourning and your book, Healthy Mourning, Happy Loving, all of it just helped me to, like, I knew it's like, it's okay to laugh. I mean, it's all part of it, and cry, but to actually help people to understand, oh, that is, however you're grieving mourning, it doesn't all have to be cloaked in darkness, right? Maybe you're up there, and I mean, how many memorial services or whatever have we ever attended, and they share a heartwarming, heart-wrenching story about the person, and that's just the thing that just means so much, and you might be laughing and you might be crying, and it's all part of it. It's not avoiding grief and mourning, it is grieving and mourning, and I love that.
That's right.
Right?
That's right.
So
very powerful. Laughter is as powerful, if not more powerful, than tears.
well, let me just tell you, you've just fueled my fire because you know how ridiculous I like to be. So I'm going to go tell my husband, guess what? I just talked to Maria. I'm going to be even more ridiculous. And you may get an angry email. But anyway, no.
I'm going to get an email that just says, do you know what you unleashed? Do you
Yeah, you
even
know what you've done? Like, do you? And it's interesting because I said one of my superpowers or something that I love that I'm able to do is when someone is dying or very ill, and I can find the humor in, like just remember like hugging this woman and her friend, she was afraid, her friend was afraid to leave her, right? And now I would say, you've been here, you've just shown up, it's okay whether she takes her last breath when you're here or not, you have just shown up, it's okay. But I said to the woman, I just said, whatever, Margaret, I said, Margaret, can we convince Joan to go home? Have you seen her hair? We've got to let Margaret, have you look at your friend's hair? It's like, this is a hair emergency. And she was laughing, and it was like, and I laughed and her friend laughed. Said, well, thanks a lot. And I said, well, perhaps may I offer you a hat or, like just, right? Just silliness. And I always just love to be able to do that. And now to be able to share with people, say, laughter is a wonderful part of grieving and mourning and expressing the love you feel for someone. And that's just that extra nugget. And so I thank you for that. And I'm excited that you're going to be doing a Facebook Live. Tell me a little bit more about that.
Oh, there's this wonderful woman, Sherry Lee, who runs, she calls it the Badass Facebook Business Ad Group, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So I belong to that because I love her to bits.
Yeah.
And he's just gotten a whole bunch of entrepreneurs from all different fields. And she said, would you come on and donate something so that whoever watches all of these videos at the end, they're in a draw for winning. So could you gift something? And so I gifted something. And could you come on and talk a little bit about your gift and what you do?
Oh, how fun.
And so, it's the people who are Reiki masters and life coaches and all of this stuff.
Oh.
And Maria with Grief and Mourning.
Yeah. Who invited her?
And so, for me, this is the part of, this is the conversation we won't have. And this is the conversation we most need to have. So let's have it and let's get real honest with each other. Are you number one? Are you number two? Are you number three in this moment right now? Are you
I love it.
grieving? Have you got buried and carried grief and you're maybe denying it or avoiding it because you don't know what to do with it? Or do you know what to do with it? And are you moving through it? And are you not afraid of your grief? Those are the three options. Put 1, 2, or 3 in the box. And for people who are watching this, I would invite you, put 1, 2, or 3 in the comment section of the YouTube, right?
Yeah.
Like just let us hear where you are right now. Because when you claim where you are right now, that's when you can start shifting and moving it.
Right? Ooh, such juicy. I don't know why people don't want to have these conversations. Aren't they so wonderful?
I think so. I think they're very life affirming. Honestly, I think they're very affirming.
I always every time I have one of these conversations or, talk to someone who's grieving or dying or whatever, I just have I so appreciate my life here and now. So you're going to go do your Facebook Live. I'm so excited that we got our conversation in. And yes, there's going to be more laughter in grief, joy, and everything. So thank you. Thank you.
Oh,
thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, my friend.
Let's chat again soon.
Yes, please.
Okay. Bye for now, my friend.
Bye-bye.